When I think about sustainability of my art, the first thing I want to say is that everything I make is intended to be timeless. Each piece is made once, only once. It's not created with trend or replication in mind. It's made for humanity and meant to be treasured, kept, and passed on. Most of my work is done by hand. I found that handmade objects tend to be the ones we hold on to. We rarely throw them away. They carry something of the human touch, a permanence that's hard to replicate. Now, in terms of materials, anything that isn't monumental is usually sourced directly from my local community. Living in Pietrasanta, I'm surrounded by marble industries. And that means there's a lot of offcuts, pieces that are too small to be used for slabs or architectural work. These are perfect for sculpture. I take what would otherwise be described as discard and give it a new form. As for the onyx I use, it's sent to me by a family in Mexico who have their own quarries. Just like with the marble, these are offcuts, pieces too small for slabs, but still of incredible quality and perfect for sculpting. They're shipped along with the larger slabs already headed to Italy, so even the transport is efficient. My pieces arrive as part of an existing shipment, filling in the unused space, so in that way it's also an ecological gesture. When I work with wood, I do something similar. The blocks often come from old buildings. Some of the bases for my sculptures, for example, are made from ancient chestnut beams, salvaged from a dilapidated church. These timbers can be 500 or even 700 years old. And in that case, they carry a beautiful story, and I love that. I think that when a material has a story, we tend to value it more, and so we keep it longer. It becomes more than just material, it becomes a memory. Also, I've made great inroads with the local municipality, and now they call me when a large tree has to be removed for whatever reason. And I managed to distribute that material amongst my sculpting community. There are also pieces I've made from objects that have completely lost their original purpose. One of the largest works, Seed, for example, is a 6-meter sculpture made from the mahogany hull of a sailing boat. The keel had rotted, and it was no longer seaworthy, not even restorable, really. And yet, in cutting it apart and reshaping it, it found a new light. What I find so beautiful about working with these forgotten or discarded materials is how it weaves me deeper into my community. It builds relationships. The connections I've made with marble yards and production houses are a huge part of what allows this work to exist. For example, Cervietti Studios, who work with some of the highest quality marble for monumental sculpture, set aside their smaller offcuts for me. They deliver them to my studio, and anything I don't use gets passed on to visiting artists. It becomes a cycle of creation and generosity. Right now, I'm also exploring new ways to reuse marble waste. I'm experimenting with marble dust, left over from large production, and mixing it with materials like water glass and lye to form a kind of slurry. This can be poured into molds to create reconstituted marble, which I can then sculpt again. So the process becomes both additive and subtractive. I'm also planning to test these mixtures for use in monumental 3D printing. For monumental pieces, I try to get as much as I can from a single block. One of my current projects, the 9, involves taking a single marble block and cutting it in such a way 9 times that I can extract a full series of archways. From a 3-meter by 2 by 1 block, I'll create a structure that becomes about 6 meters by 4 by 3. There's something really exciting about that, to create the most from any given material. I love the elegance of the essential, that feeling of getting it just right with nothing wasted.